Hi everybody, welcome to the Fabulous Empty Nest with me, your host Angie. Today is week 1 for the Autism Awareness Stitching for the Spectrum Crochet Along. I can't believe I said that the right way the first time. So as I've been talking about this project, I've been telling everybody this is a very simple, a very easy project, and it is. And I'm going to keep it that way. It's very, very easy. And I think that as long as you know how to make a granny square, you should be able to do this. I am going to walk you through it step by step, and we're going to have some fun with it. It's going to take us a whole month, so there's no rush. I mean, I can usually make one of these in a day and a half or so. So we're taking the whole month to make it. We're taking our time. We're going to have some fun with it. And at the end, everybody who decides to participate will have a beautiful, beautiful granny square sweater. If you've never made a granny square sweater before, this is definitely a crochet along for you because it's the easiest. I've made it so easy. So let's get started. The things that you will need for this project: a crochet hook, some scissors, and more than likely a tape measure. And I don't even use this tape measure like seriously. This is what I do. I find a sweater that I like that fits me well, and I lay it out on the table, and then I measure it, and I keep it that simple. So I will typically measure it on my back from shoulder to shoulder, and then from the nape of my neck down to about where like the tops of my jeans hit. So you get to decide, how long do I want this sweater to be? And then just jot those measurements down somewhere. So this is the sweater that I measured. I am making a sweater this size. It'll be very similar to this. So you can see on the back of the sweater, there's 4 large granny squares. And then I believe I did 3 rows around the bottom. Well, we'll get into that in a little bit, but I added a little extra length to the bottom of this one. You can see that there. And that's just by adding a couple rows of the granny stitch, and that will add some length for you. And then of course there's 2.5 or 3 inches of this ribbing as well. So that's what we're doing. So the yarn that I decided to go with, I've changed my mind 3 times. Okay, so last weekend I went out of town and I just happened to be near a Hobby Lobby. So I went to Hobby Lobby and I picked up some yarn. So basically what I did was I wanted to do a chunky sweater, so I bought worsted weight, but I'm going to double it. So I bought 3 skeins of this Yarn Bee Soft and Sleek. It's also the low pill fiber. I like this yarn for sweaters because it doesn't pill up super easy like a lot of the other yarns do. It lasts, your sweater will last a long time. And so that's why I decided to go with this. So I have 3 skeins of this red, and this red is called, what is this red called? Chili red. Very simple. See how simple that is? And then I got this beautiful blue, teal blue is what it's called. Again, same yarn. And then I got this color, and this is called Kale. And then lastly, I got, I just dropped this in my coffee, mustard. So these are my 4 colors that I'll be working with. And then, oh gosh, I really did drop it in my coffee. Whoops, just the end. Shh, don't tell anybody. All right, and then for my trim and like the body of the sweater, I wanted to use black. because I wanted it to have kind of like a stained glass look, especially with these really pretty colors. So I'm using black to trim my squares. Let's try not to drop that in the coffee this time. And I'm just using Big Twist black. I like how this looks. It's a really good black. And so I'm just using the value skeins for this sweater. So I already started making my squares because I wanted to have some to show you. So the way that I'm doing this is I'm batching the squares. So essentially what I did was I went, okay, I need 16 squares. So for size medium large, we're gonna need 16 squares. And so I just started like this. I said, okay, I'm going to make the middle blue, and then the second row will be red, the third row will be yellow, and the fourth row will be green, and then I'll trim it with black. And so I made 4 of these. And then next, I've got 4 of these. And I'll do the same thing. I'll make, each row a different color. And then I've got 2 done of the green. So I still have 2 more of these to make, and then 4 more of the yellow centers. And then once I'm finished, I shall have 16 squares. And when the squares are finished, then we will move into construction in week 2 of the back. And depending on how far along we are, we'll possibly work on the front panels as well. So what I do is I lay out my squares, and then I measure them to see how close I am to the measurement that I need. So as you can see here, I have laid out my squares, and you might want to block them. I don't block mine because I like them to be kind of puffy. I like that puffiness that unblocked squares create in these chunky sweaters, because again, I'm doing a chunky sweater. And of course these squares will be different colors, but there'll be 1 of each. And this is what my back will look like. Now, because I need 18 inches across, okay, I'm at about 15 now. So I'm going to sew these together once I get all my squares finished. I'm going to sew these together, and we'll talk about that next week, but I'm just telling you what I'm going to do. I'm going to sew these together into one big square, so in like a 4-pack. And then I'm going to do 1 to 2 rows of granny stitch around with this black until I get the size that I need for the back. Because that's all we're going to talk about on week 2 is constructing the back, and possibly how we construct the front panels, the right and the left front panel. But right now, we're just keeping it simple. Not going to try to freak anybody out. All right. So we're going to make our squares this week. And what I'd love is for anybody that is actually going to be doing the crochet along to share your squares in the community, on my community page, and use the hashtag stitching for the spectrum. Okay, and I will put that in the description. So it's hashtag stitching for the spectrum, and share them on here. I really want to see what you all have chosen, what colors you've chosen, what style of square you've chosen. And remember, keep your squares simple unless you're an advanced crocheter, and then of course you can do whatever you want. But if you're just starting out, keep it simple. For those of you that want to know, I'm using the Sunburst Granny Square. This is pretty easy, so this is a good one. But if you're new, you might just want to start with a Granny Square, and they're just as pretty. Granny Squares are a classic, beautiful square. So that's kind of where we're starting today. We're just keeping it super simple. So something kind of exciting. for the month of April, Stitching for the Spectrum. My youngest son, who is 22 now, was diagnosed with autism when he was about 18 months old. He was nonverbal until he was about six and a half, I guess. And through a lot of great ABA therapy and just a lot of love and, practice and trying new things, and just like all of us were trying to kind of get him to do new things, try new things. We worked with him a lot to engage with him, even if he wasn't verbal, and eventually he just started talking. And the first day that he ever said anything, I think he was about 6 and a half. He did hum. He loved to hum, but he would not talk. And the first day that he did say something to me, I was in the living room, and he walked over to our refrigerator and stood in front of it. And that's usually how he would tell me that he wanted something from the refrigerator. If he was hungry or thirsty, he would stand in front of the refrigerator. And so I just looked over at him, and I don't know, there was just something in me that said, don't move, just stay there and see what happens. Because normally I would just jump up and run to whatever he needed. I was an at-home mom. I had that ability. And so I just sat there and I went back to what I was doing. I was probably crocheting, and he opened the refrigerator, which shocked me because it was a big, it was like 2 refrigerators put together. One refrigerator, but like it was the big kind, and I could barely get the door open, and he opened the door, and I was like, interesting. So I just kind of looked again, and then he closed the refrigerator and he said, I want juice. As clear as could be. Like I had never heard anything come out of this child's mouth. And then he says, I want juice. So after I pulled myself together, I walked over and I kneeled down and I said, can you tell me that again? And of course he wouldn't. So then I'm like saying to myself, am I just crazy? Do I just like wish that happened and it didn't really happen? And so I tried it a couple more times and he wouldn't say it. I just kept asking him, Ben, can you say that to me again, please? And then so I looked at him and I said, does Ben want juice? And he said, does Ben want juice? So he repeated what I said, which is what we call echolalia. And I was like, maybe I can get him to talk doing that. And I didn't really have words for echolalia yet. And so I said it again, does Ben want juice? And by that time he was irritated and he said, Ben want juice. And so I got him juice. And so that was the first time he ever spoke. And I can tell you the very first day that he ever told me he loved me, I will remember it till the day I die. We were out on the boat and I was holding him in my lap, and it was just a beautiful day, and we're out floating out in the lake. And I just said, I love you, Ben. And he said, I love you, Ben. He said it back to me. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I said, I love you, Mom. And he said, I love you, Mom. And well, I didn't say Mom, I said Mama. I love you, Mama. And he said, I love you, Mama. And I was like, oh boy, now I know how to get it. So that's kind of what my first, that's the first thing I guess I want to share with you, is the first time my son ever spoke. The cool thing about that was before he started speaking, he was going to regular school, but he would wear a little book around his neck and he would point to things that he needed or wanted, and that's how he would use speech. And, he was getting to that age because he was in public school that I knew that if he didn't start speaking soon, and we didn't know that he was going to. I mean, he could have been nonverbal for the rest of his life. I don't know why he started talking, but I was fearful, I guess I will say, that that was going to become something that would get him teased and bullied. And I don't have patience for that. I used to have a joke, and I don't mean this, so please don't take this seriously, but I used to have a joke And I would say, well, you know, it's not beyond me to throat punch a 9-year-old. I would never do that, okay? But when it comes to children bullying other children, it really upsets me. And I taught my children to always stick up for the underdog and to treat people with disabilities or abilities with respect, and to pay attention to them and make sure that that they're seen. Ben's best friend had muscular dystrophy, and Brendan was in a wheelchair, and I learned so much from the way those two boys interacted, because Ben was nonverbal. Brendan was verbal and very, very good at asking for what he needed, because his mother was a wonderful advocate for a child with disabilities. And so I truly believe that Brendan was a huge, he was huge in getting Ben to talk as well, because he would push Ben to talk. And Ben really loved riding around on the back of Brendan's electric wheelchair, and just Brendan knew how to use, he knew how to get Ben to engage in things. So I really am appreciative of Brendan to this day. All right, so, and I'm gonna cry in a second because Brendan is no longer with us. Okay. All right, I just gotta pull myself together. So yeah, I get teary because Brendan is no longer with us. Yeah. So anyway, so that's basically what I want to say about, you know, children with disabilities, is that I wanted my children to know how to be aware of, one, the people around them. I think it's really important to teach our children to be aware of the people around them, to be aware of elders, to be aware of people that are struggling, to be aware of people who sometimes can't do for themselves or might need a little extra help. And I'm really, really grateful for that, because that had been passed down to me from my parents. You know, anytime there was a family in our very small community, I grew up in a community of about 1,000 people. And anytime there was a fire or something happened within a community, my mom was the first to say, all right, she'd throw a box at me and say, get some clothes out of your closet. Or go in and throw some canned goods into these boxes. Or, you know, help your brothers go through their drawers and pull out some things for this family. My mom was always the first to do that. She was always the first to say, we need to have a fish fry, or we need to have a spaghetti feed. We need to help this family. And so I didn't expect this. I didn't expect it at all. Anyway, so I'm really grateful that I grew up in a family that felt like community was important, and that, what the hell? So I'm really grateful that I grew up in a family that taught me that community was important, and that it was always really important to help those that were in need. But my mom also taught me that not to just do for others, to ask. And I learned that quickly, and to encourage people to do for themselves. And so as, you know, a counselor, that's always my first thing that I go to, is I don't assume that people can't do it. It just may be that they don't know how. And if they don't know how, then we're going to work together to learn how and teach people to do for themselves. That's where they build self-respect, and they learn that they are capable. And that, I think, is really, really important. And I think that goes back to what I was teaching Ben. You know, just because he was nonverbal, he still had to do a lot of things for himself. I taught him how to fold clothes. I taught him how to sweep. I taught him how to help out around the yard and to make his own bed. Just because he was nonverbal, it didn't mean that he wasn't capable of doing other things. And as he got older, my son knows how to mop. He knows how to iron. He knows how to cook his own meals. He knows how to do his own laundry. He knows how to do his taxes. He actually got his driver's license, but he doesn't like to drive. So he can, like if the zombie apocalypse came tomorrow, he could actually get in his car and drive away, but he can drive. He had his first jury duty last month and he went to college. So, yeah, like, does he struggle? He's got some struggles, like getting him to buy new shoes is, I don't know, I think we're on year 5 for his Converse that he's been wearing. He loves these bright red Converse and, you know, he's been wearing them for about 5 years now. When he was little, it would take me about 3 days to gear myself up to take him to the shoe store because I would literally have to sit on the floor and put his little legs into a leg lock to try shoes on him. And I knew that every parent in there thought that I was a horrible parent, but they did not know what I was going through or that what Ben was going through. And we had just created our own process. If he was in a leg lock, he felt safe and he would allow me to do that. But if I put him on a chair and tried to put shoes on him, he would take off running through the store. So we figured it out. Haircuts, the same thing. Haircuts were a disaster. So I just stopped cutting his hair until like I absolutely had to. So he's always had long hair and he looks great with long hair and he likes it. So, and I had to teach him how to take care of it. So, you know, are there struggles? Yeah. And, you know, he's not a super social dude. Like he's got a core group of friends and they spend most of their time communicating and engaging online. He does host a Dungeons and Dragons or a game night in his apartment once a month or so. You know, so that's good. But biggest thing is I've learned to just step back and say, I'm not in charge anymore. My son is capable and he's living his life. So I'm very grateful for that. All right. So I said that I was going to do a little education each time on my experience as being a mother of a child on the spectrum. That is not everybody's experience. That's why it's a spectrum. Okay. My son started over here, completely nonverbal, no eye contact, nothing, to he's about right here now. And there's some kids that stay here. And then there's some kids that come way over here. But no child is alike. They all have different needs. They all have different abilities. But the one thing that I know is that most of the parents that I've met who have children on the spectrum have the biggest hearts and they are the biggest advocates and they can be scary. I had a friend who had a child that was on the spectrum, and when I had to first start going to IEP meetings, I didn't know how to advocate for my kid because my other 6 kids were all little overachievers and they did really well in school. And I didn't know like how to go in and advocate for my kid. I never had to do it before. And the first time I went by myself, I came out of there hysterical. And my friend was like, no, ma'am, we are not doing that. And so the next time I went, I had a whole team with me. I want to say, if you're a parent on the spectrum, damn it. I just want to say, if you're a parent on the spectrum, you don't have to do this alone. Okay, well, that was the hardest video I've ever done in my life. But I'm glad I did it. And I'm really looking forward to the next 3 weeks with everybody. And I cannot wait to see what everybody makes. Like I said, this is not your conventional crochet along. We are doing this I call it the Angie way, and we're literally building the sweater as we go, or we're building the bridge as we go. We are going to have some fun with this. We're going to figure it out. We're going to make this sweater, and like I said, I'm going to be donating mine to Autism Awareness. I have actually 3 sweaters I'll be donating. We'll be donating this one, and then my long sweater that is about finished, and then the sweater that thanks Sarah, that Sarah donated to me from, that she donated to me, and I showed that in the last video. So they will be donated for auction, and I think I've already said I'm going to win the one that Sarah made. So please reach out if you have any questions. My email is in the description. Again, please post your squares. I can't wait to see them. I know they're going to be beautiful. I'm so excited. And you know what? If you're not crocheting along with us, that's cool too. That's cool too. Just come in and look at the pictures, follow the videos, have some fun with us. I really think that this is for such a good cause. So I appreciate all of you who have hung in there with me. And again, reach out if you have any questions. Take care.